Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Doc T. This is Dr. Farheen, General Medicine resident, and today let's discuss about something that's actually very easy to diagnose, but it is seen only in a few. It is not a pigment, but it can still make you look blue. So anyways, it's very clear from the thumbnail itself. So today let's discuss cyanosis. Cyanosis. By definition, it is a bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membranes because of increased amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin in the superficial capillaries and venules. So what is a deoxygenated hemoglobin? Normally, one hemoglobin binds to 4 oxygen molecules, and this is known as an oxygenated hemoglobin. Okay, so now we'll look at a picture. Suppose this is hemoglobin, it binds to 4 molecules of oxygen, and this circulates in the arterial circulation. And when the oxygen is given to the tissues, the hemoglobin which comes out in the venous circulation will be devoid of oxygen. Okay, so hemoglobin which contains 4 oxygen molecules is known as an oxygenated hemoglobin, and a hemoglobin after losing oxygen is known as a deoxygenated hemoglobin. Now oxygenated hemoglobin is red in color and deoxygenated hemoglobin is blue in color. This increased amount of this deoxygenated hemoglobin leads to cyanosis. Okay, so now this is a picture of cyanosis. So in the arterial circulation, there is oxygenated hemoglobin, and in the venous circulation there is deoxygenated hemoglobin. This is completely normal. But when the arterial circulation, the blood in the arteries contains deoxygenated hemoglobin, and this deoxygenated blood is getting supplied through the arterioles and through the capillaries to the tissues, then this is abnormal, and this is known as cyanosis. Okay, so what is the inference from here? Deoxygenated hemoglobin in veins is completely normal, but deoxygenated hemoglobin in the arterial circulation and in the capillaries is known as cyanosis. So from now onwards in the video, wherever I talk about deoxygenated hemoglobin, I mean the deoxygenated hemoglobin in the arterial circulation and capillaries. Okay. So appearance of cyanosis depends upon the absolute amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin. Now what does this mean? What is an absolute amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin? In any patient, cyanosis occurs only when there is deoxygenated hemoglobin of at least 4 grams per deciliter. Some say it is 5 gram per deciliter. Now we'll understand this with an example. So suppose a patient has a hemoglobin of 12 gram per deciliter. For him, if cyanosis has to develop, 4 gram per deciliter should be deoxygenated hemoglobin. That means the remaining 8 gram per deciliter is oxygenated hemoglobin. Similarly, another patient whose hemoglobin is 9 gram per deciliter, for him cyanosis, if it has to develop, then 4 gram per deciliter should be deoxygenated hemoglobin and the rest 5 gram per deciliter is oxygenated hemoglobin. So here, irrespective of the patient, a minimum of 4 gram per deciliter of deoxygenated hemoglobin should be present for cyanosis to develop. That is why occurrence of cyanosis depends upon the absolute amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin. Okay. Now types of cyanosis, there are of two types, namely central and peripheral. In central cyanosis, the blood that is being pumped out from the heart already contains deoxygenated hemoglobin. So deoxygenated hemoglobin is pumped from the heart in central cyanosis, whereas in peripheral cyanosis, the blood that is being pumped out contains oxygenated hemoglobin, but by the time it is reaching the distal part of the body, it is becoming deoxygenated. Now let's look at central cyanosis. Okay, so in central cyanosis, the blood that is being pumped out from the heart already contains deoxygenated hemoglobin. Okay, so there could be 3 causes for this. First cause is when the inhaled air already contains lesser amount of oxygen. The second cause could be when there is abnormal oxygen delivery, and third cause when there are right to left shunts. So first cause, when there is decreased oxygen content in the inspired air, like high altitude and smoke inhalation. Second cause, when there is abnormality of oxygen exchange because of airway abnormalities. This could be because of 2 causes. So first thing is A because of some upper airway causes and B because of lung diseases. So upper airway causes will include obstructions like foreign body, especially in children, then CROP, congenital airway abnormalities like tracheomalacia. So in all this there is obstruction, so no proper oxygen delivery. Next is lung diseases. Lung diseases could involve the parenchyma, like simple like pneumonia, or this may be because at the alveolar level when there is abnormal gas exchange like in pulmonary edema and hyaline membrane diseases. So third cause is because of right to left shunts. So normally the left side of the heart should pump the oxygenated blood, okay, and the right side contains deoxygenated blood. When there is a right to left shunt, there is mixing of this deoxygenated blood to the oxygenated blood, and the deoxygenated blood is pumped out to the body. So this is seen in right to left shunts. Now let's look at peripheral cyanosis. So in peripheral cyanosis, the blood that is pumped out from the heart has oxygenated hemoglobin, but by the time it reaches the distal part of the body, that is the fingers and the toes, it is becoming deoxygenated. Okay. So common causes include when there is any obstruction or vasoconstriction in the distal part of the body, that is fingers and toes, or when there is low cardiac output. Let's see each one of them. When there is low cardiac output, the oxygenated hemoglobin which is pumped from the heart is very less in amount. So low volume is pumped out, and because it is very less in volume, by the time it reaches the distal part, the oxygen is already delivered to the tissues and only deoxygenated hemoglobin remains by the time this blood reaches the distal part of the body. But whereas in obstruction and in vasoconstriction of the distal part of the body, that means the fingers and toes, normally oxygenated hemoglobin which reaches till that part is used up by the tissues there, and because of obstruction or vasoconstriction the blood remains there and it gets stagnated, and deoxygenated hemoglobin is pooled up over there. There is no fresh blood flow also because of obstruction and vasoconstriction. Now these are the causes. So first is vasoconstriction is the most common cause because of cold especially, and next is Raynaud's phenomenon. The second cause is arteriolar and venous obstructions, and the third is when there is low cardiac output conditions like shock. So these are the causes of peripheral cyanosis. Okay, now way to look for cyanosis. Two criteria should be fulfilled. The first thing is that the epidermis should be thin or absent so that the skin pigment does not interfere, and the second thing is that the superficial capillaries should be more abundant. So these two conditions are fulfilled in areas like lips, nose, ear lobules, fingertips and oral mucosa. Okay, now let's see some basic differences between central cyanosis and peripheral cyanosis. So first thing is warming of extremities. So when the fingertips or the toes are warmed, then what happens? Warming causes vasodilation. So vasodilation can cause fresh blood to flow. Thereby peripheral cyanosis is improved, but there is no change in central cyanosis. The second difference is oxygen inhalation. When oxygen is inhaled, there is increased amount of oxygen percentage in the inspired air, because of which ultimately the blood that is pumped out from the heart will have more amount of oxygen. So thereby there is improvement in central cyanosis, but there is no improvement in peripheral cyanosis. The third difference is involvement of oral mucosa. So oral mucosa is characteristically spared in peripheral cyanosis, but it is involved in central cyanosis. So this is a picture, and these are the basic differences between central and peripheral cyanosis. Okay, let's look at two patients. The first patient with hemoglobin of 20 gram% and the second with a hemoglobin of 9 gram%. Now for the first patient, if he develops cyanosis, that means minimum of 4 gram% should be deoxygenated hemoglobin. Now that gives automatically that oxygenated hemoglobin is 16 gram%. Okay, now calculating the oxygen saturation of this patient, which means that out of the total hemoglobin, how much is oxygenated. That gives the formula of oxygenated hemoglobin out of his total hemoglobin into 100. Now calculating the saturation of this patient, it comes to about 16 by 20 into 100, which is 80%. Now in the same way, suppose the second patient developed cyanosis, that means his deoxygenated hemoglobin should be 4 gram percent, that and his oxygenated hemoglobin will come 5 gram percent. Now calculating the saturation of this patient, that is oxygenated hemoglobin, which is 5 by total hemoglobin 9 into 100, it is around 56%. So can you notice a difference between the saturations at which both the patients developed cyanosis, one at 80% and the other at 56%. The first patient has polycythemia and the second patient has anemia, and the first patient developed cyanosis at a saturation of 80%, the second patient developed cyanosis at a saturation of 56%. So can you infer something from this? So anemic patients show cyanosis only when there is very low oxygen saturation, but polycythemic patients can show cyanosis even at small drop in saturations. So that means polycythemic patients are quick to show cyanosis, but cyanosis is rarely seen in anemic patients. Why? Because anemic patients require a larger drop in saturation for cyanosis to appear. So this is an extra edge point. Remember, anemic patients require larger drop in saturation for cyanosis to appear, so it is rarely seen. Okay, now we'll look at a very quick review of cyanosis. So cyanosis is defined as bluish discoloration of skin and mucous membranes due to increased amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin in the superficial capillaries and venules. So deoxygenated hemoglobin is the hemoglobin after losing its oxygen. Next, appearance of cyanosis depends upon the absolute amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin. This means that in any patient, for cyanosis to occur, there should be deoxygenated hemoglobin of at least 4 grams per deciliter. So it is an absolute value. Next, types of cyanosis: central cyanosis and peripheral cyanosis. In central cyanosis, the blood that is pumped from the heart is already deoxygenated, whereas in peripheral cyanosis, oxygenated hemoglobin is pumped from the heart, but by the time it reaches the distal part of the body, it is becoming deoxygenated. Now let's look at central cyanosis. Here the blood that is pumped from the heart already contains deoxygenated hemoglobin. So there are three causes. First is decreased oxygen in the inspired air. Second is airway abnormalities, which may be because of upper airway obstructions, especially in children, because of which there is no proper oxygen delivery, and lung diseases, which may include pneumonia and also abnormal gas exchange because of pulmonary edema or hyaline membrane disease. Third is heart, where there is right to left shunts like tetralogy of Fallot, transposition of great arteries, total anomalous pulmonary venous return. Next, peripheral cyanosis. The blood that is pumped from the heart has oxygenated hemoglobin, but by the time it reaches fingers and toes, it is becoming deoxygenated. Here causes include low cardiac output, where the oxygen is already used up by the tissues, and by the time this blood reaches the peripheral part, only deoxygenated hemoglobin remains. And the next is an obstruction and vasoconstriction. Because of stagnation of blood, oxygen is completely consumed and deoxygenated hemoglobin remains in the distal part of fingers and toes. So these are the causes of peripheral cyanosis. Next, where to look for cyanosis: lips, nose, ear lobules, fingertips, and oral mucosa. Now basic differences between central and peripheral cyanosis. Warming of extremities can improve peripheral cyanosis but not central cyanosis. Oxygen inhalation can improve central cyanosis but not peripheral cyanosis. Oral mucosa is involved in central cyanosis and it is spared in peripheral cyanosis. The extra edge point to remember, will directly look at the inference here. So polycythemic patients are quick to show cyanosis, but Cyanosis is rarely seen in anemic patients because they require a larger fall in saturation for cyanosis to appear. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Let's meet again with another new video. Till then, just take care and be happy.